Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Reese part number S485APR. This is what's called a panic type threshold, mill finish aluminum with black polyprene insert. So this is obviously a threshold. This is a common sort of threshold in a particular application. So this application could be simply where you want a bump up threshold. You want the door to actually seal against something, and we call it a bump up threshold. But this could be called also a latch track threshold, also known as a panic threshold. Those two terms refer to the feature right here. This sort of profile is referred to panic or latch track. So what that means is this threshold can actually do an additional job other than just sealing the bottom of the door and doing so where you seal up against the edge of the door. It can also act as a threshold when you have a surface vertical rod exit device, usually installed on pairs of doors, and that bottom Pullman latch can secure against literally this feature in the threshold. That's why they call it a panic or a latch track style. This is not handicap compliant because for a couple of reasons. Its overall height, and then also the changes in gradient don't observe the run to rise relationship of 2 to 1. So it's not handicap compliant. But where you're going to see this used in the big box stores, giant warehouse sort of retail spaces, those back walls, those side walls, they have pairs of doors. Depending on the occupancy load, there's a formula that will determine how much clear opening of emergency exit opening worth of doors you have to have. Those doors aren't handicap compliant in the sense that, you know, they're emergency egress, because emergency egress trumps fire code, and emergency egress would trump other code. So the obligation to have that opening compliant with handicap code may not be there. It's not a door that's open to the public as well. So it could be very smart to use this type of threshold in those doors that are emergency exit only, you know, from the path of egress or the path of exit, the exit, then the exit discharge, which gets you out to a public way, because you will maintain the integrity of the seal at the bottom of the door, and you're going to have your exit devices latch to the threshold, saving you the trouble of having to cut or prep or otherwise breach that solid seal with a strike for a surface vertical rod exit device. So that's where you would use this, and you see it used all the time. Now you can also do these types of bump up thresholds handicap compliant. That can be done. At least I believe it can be done. Since I put my foot in my mouth, let me do a bit of research. Yeah, you definitely can. Reese has their S483 that would be handicap compliant, as would the S257. Oh, well, actually, in terms of a latch track, it would be the S483 that would be handicap compliant, because it doesn't exceed 1/2 of an inch, and it does not have a change in gradient greater than 1/4 inch, which would then have to observe the run and rise relationship. So you can still do it when you're going to have your latch track threshold handicap compliant. You'll certainly want to scrutinize your undercut. Standard undercut on doors, you know, it's going to, whoop, that's not enough door there. So you'll want to make sure that you run those doors a little bit longer to account for that. So this is obviously just a 6-inch sample piece for purposes of this video, and that's exactly what it's for. So there is an image down below showing the dimensional properties, and we'll go over that quickly. 3 11/16, yeah, I'd say that'd be accurate. This has an overall height of 1 inch. Yeah, I'd say it'd be spot on. Then your door area is 5/8. Now that should work out really well for you, because typical hollow metal has a 3/8 undercut. 1 inch overall height, pardon me, 3/4 inch undercut. 5/8 here, 3/4 inch undercut, 1/8 of an inch, you know, nominally left over. 1 inch overall rise, a really great positive seal. Your door is obviously going to fit in here. Really smart detail with this slope to the front to run anything back and away. I would obviously bring to here a door sweeps because I don't want my line of defense on the interior side of the door. I want it out here. So I would belt and suspender approach that application. And then again, that feature right there is that latch track or panic threshold, and that's going to work out really great for you. Let's switch to the screen view so we can take a look at the extended description and the supporting documentation. Now, this is the item that we are looking at. We have our extended description information down below. This item is also available in a dark bronze, and we have the link to the cut sheet that's down below here. We can take a look at and view our S485. That's it right there. A trip into the handicap compliant ADA usable guidelines for building construction will talk at length about why this is not handicap compliant. But variations on the panic type threshold are all here. There's that handicap version of the unit. Okay. More bump up style latch track thresholds. These are meant to help you mitigate two disparate floor surfaces, obviously. This is not an uncommon profile as well. Other latch track do not feature inserts. Thermal brake latch track. These are really smart pieces of equipment because they substantially reduce, retard, prevent, limit, all but prevent the transmission of extreme temperature from one side to the inside based on that hard rigid plastic that's in there. No metal touches each other. Those are really smart thresholds. Okay. More latch track material. Latch track and thermal brake. So that's your product catalog where you can review all of those items. And I would encourage you to do so. Different inserts. You can do V for vinyl. So we have PR. We have an S485A, S485, A for mill aluminum, D for dark bronze, and then PR, black polyprene. You can do a vinyl, which I would absolutely not suggest that you use. Vinyl is the least desirable because it's going to fatigue and fail. Cold weather, extreme weather, and exposure to ultraviolet will just chew that up. It'll make it degrade. Polyprene is very good in lots of applications, in generic applications where good flexibility, good temperature performance. What's really great about polyurethane is that it is substantially abrasion resistant, but is all but impervious to mildew, fungus, and other things of that nature. You'll see polyurethane used in food service, in big pharma. Their manufacturing plants will feature polyurethane inserts. And then pile. Pile is really common in the aluminum storefront industry. What's noticeable about pile is that it gives you a substantially low amount of force to the door when the door closer is trying to push the door closed. Plus, it's really good for insect, for discouraging insects to come through. A manufacturer of bristle weather stripping told me that studies have found that insects don't like to land on that stuff. It freaks them out and they fly away. So perimeter gasketing would really be good with a pile insert. Okay. Since we're on the screen view, back to the item that we're looking at here. This item, keep in mind this link to the manufacturer's page because I'm going to refer to it by the end of the video. Let's switch back to the screen view and wrap up this video. Now I should, of course, say switching back to the camera view. Really great little threshold. What you'll notice, or at least what I always notice, very generous, thick extrusions. That's a hallmark of the entire Reese line. They make no apologies for how thick the aluminum extrusions are. Translation, you get what you pay for with Reese, in my opinion. They are not an economy-grade supplier of gasketing. They go for the thicker extrusions, and it shows. Just when you hold it, it's just thicker. This weighs 0.41 pound, 0.82 pound per foot. 0.82, 0.8 of a pound per foot, and it's just aluminum. The dark bronze, if you did an S485D, that would be a very beautiful dark bronze finish, except it's closer to oil rubbed bronze in that it's lighter than some of these super dark bronze or extra dark, and then even black. Reese is going to be Reese will occupy the lighter end of that spectrum of light to dark. If you are matching true oil rubbed bronze finish, I would not use any, and you're not using solid architectural bronze gasketing and thresholds. That's, would cost $150 a foot possibly, less and certainly more. I would use only Reese when it comes to that lighter sort of US 10B if you're looking for that. This is, again, a 6-inch sample. That you can order this really in any length. I think their extrusions are about 16.5 feet long. We don't have every possible size in the site, but simply order the next longest piece or pieces and indicate in the comment field the net length that you'd like for us to cut the material back to, and we'll be happy to oblige. If this was the genuine article, you'd have a countersink, 3 or 4 inches off the edge. And the rule of thumb about those dimples or countersinks is that for every foot that you have in a threshold, you'll have 1 additional hole. So the rule of thumb, even though it's not absolute, is that a 3-foot threshold would have 4 holes for screws. And if you have a need to cut that down, you might eliminate one of those dimples, and then your end to the first dimple is not symmetrical and your holes aren't symmetrical. So if you order the next longest piece or pieces, assuming you need a custom length, we'll be happy to provide that for you. Not only give you a clean cut at the end, but also that countersink at the proper distance from the edge, and the proper center to center going down the length of the item. When it comes to fastening, while there are no screws in this video, it will include like a number 12 Phillips flathead wood screw that might be about 2-inch long. I would definitely give some thought to how you're going to fasten it to the sill or to the ground. I am a unabashed fan of machine screws and lead anchors. Plastic anchors or just screws. Anytime you walk over a threshold and you can hear it clank a little bit, that's a failed installation. So I would give that some thought. Reese can certainly provide us with machine screws and lead anchors. That's a marginal additional cost. One thing I like about Reese are these ridges on the bottom as well. This type of threshold is going to take not only a lot of force of people walking over it, but it's going to take a lot of lateral force as well. And in my opinion, these little ridges serve the ultimate purpose of keeping the threshold in place by resisting that lateral movement because of those ridges. They bite, so to speak, down into that sill. I think they do a great job. Now, that link below this video to the manufacturer's page I had mentioned earlier will allow you to review not only all of the Reese products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. I would very much encourage you to review that. Reese is a simple, no-nonsense provider of weather stripping. They do not have the broadest available spectrum of weather stripping, but when it comes to commercial weather stripping, they have the bases covered. And in fact, repeatedly, reliably, predictably, no one beats them in terms of shipping lead times. They are industry leading when it comes to just getting the material out the door. Now, they have a minimum order, so in order to drop ship, we need to observe that. Otherwise, it'll go on our weekly stock order. But be mindful, you get a very high quality product, shipped out very quickly if you meet the minimum order requirements, which are listed on the page, backed by exceptional customer service. Any questions on the S485APR, Panic Style Threshold, or any other Reese product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you very much.